Can a narcissist choose not to abuse people? Like, can a narcissist make this conscious choice of like, wait a second, I'm not going to do this to this person because I know it's going to hurt them. You might have heard the phrase before, like, hurt people, okay? I want to give you a little bit of background, okay? First off, hurt people is just wrong when you first think of it, because people normally think of like, well, if they're hurt, then they're going to hurt other people, okay? That's not true. Unhealed people hurt people time and time again. Because there's many people that have been hurt and have been abused and that have had a lot of awful things happen to them, and they're not out there hurting and abusing other people. The phrase hurt people actually came on the flip side of someone being like, wait a second, like, I need to be careful of what I'm saying because this is something that has hurt me before. It might hurt someone else. Do you see how we've like skewed up phrases and how we've changed stuff over the years to make it seem better or worse? At the end of the day, that's not the exact meaning that hurt people actually came from, okay? When we're talking through this aspect of narcissists and can they actually choose to abuse, then some people are going to look at myself, or they're going to look at Lee Hammock, or they're going to look at a couple other self-aware narcissists and be like, wait a second, they're narcissists, but they're not abusing. Something's different there. So maybe they actually can choose. Okay, maybe it actually can lead this way. So first off, you need to understand narcissistic personality disorder leads towards abuse, period. Okay, some people are like, narcissists don't abuse, that's stigmatizing, that's putting them in a box. And I want you to understand, when someone has a grandiose sense of self, I am better than you, it's going to mean I'm going to talk down to you. I'm going to put you down. When I have a sense of entitlement, then that means that I'm at a place where I expect to be given or you to be in service to me. A lot of times you'll see this play out in the marriage relationship of being coercive, of having relationships with that person or other people that are coercive just to get what I want in that moment. Like, that is a lot of times the entitlement piece. You have the arrogantness. You have the aspect of expecting immediate results, like the manipulation, the gaslighting, the things that make you feel crazy. Like, all the different pieces inside narcissistic personality disorder that put you in a place of being in an abusive relationship. Does this mean that all narcissists everywhere are abusive? Not necessarily. What it does mean is a narcissist that's exhibiting narcissistic traits has the highest tendency of being consistently an abusive person. And until they're actually willing to be honest with themselves and with other people, nothing's going to change. And it's going to continue down the same road time and time again of getting to that place of being very abusive. So, is it possible for a person with narcissistic traits to choose not to abuse other people? Why or why not? So let's kind of look at that. At the end of the day, abuse is a choice. Someone is not compelled to abuse you or another person for no reason. There is a story that they're telling themselves. There is an alternate version of reality that they're selling themselves in that moment of saying, hey, this is okay. The majority of times when we talk about specific situations of they did this to you, and we flip it around and be like, hey, if you did this to them, and they're like, oh, wow, like I would hate that. I wouldn't like that. Or they would make some excuse to try to be able to like push to the side. And a lot of times the narcissist like won't be willing to acknowledge you or your feelings or the things that are happening to be able to understand, wait a second, like I'm living in a false version of reality. As a result, typically things have to get switched and changed around in the mind so that I don't look bad to other people. Think of it this way. When I was cheating, one of the aspects was, I'm not cheating. I'm faithful to my wife. I'm not cheating. I'm faithful to my wife. That was a complete lie. But I wanted to believe that. I wanted to believe that to make me feel better. I wanted to believe that to make me feel like I just wasn't getting what I needed. So then I had to go find someone else. Then I had to go get emotionally involved with someone else. Then I had to go connect with someone who actually understood me. Like all these things, different lies that I had to sell myself. Now at the beginning, I knew they were lies. Over and over, you keep repeating them, you get to the place where you start to believe the lies. And you start to think, it's not that big a deal. And this is what happens a lot of times in narcissistic relationships, of them convincing themselves that it's not that big of a deal, that they have to do this, that this is a big issue for them, so they need to be able to focus on this. What factors, so third question, what factors contribute to a person with narcissistic traits choosing to abuse others or not? Are there factors internal or external. Okay? So a lot of different pieces here. We could kind of like dive into this for like a long period of time. What I want you to really consider is the biggest factor, hands down, the biggest factor of a narcissist choosing to be abusive or choosing not to be is that honesty piece of them willing to be either honest or not honest with themselves. And there was a moment like years ago where I got to the place where I understood like a piece of what I was going through. And this is after becoming self-aware, after having like an idea, and I could sit in the moment and I could kind of sit back and I could think on different things that had happened in the relationship and how those lies end up influencing me to get to the place of where I was, of how narcissistic, of how abusive. There is a piece inside a narcissist that can continue to change and rewrite history over and over and over again to make them into the good person, even if they're the one abusing. Even if they're the one yelling, screaming, raging, hitting you. And there was like a moment, not like a physical moment of something happening, but a moment of me sitting down and thinking about something in the past. And playing it out in my mind over and over and over again and starting to see and break down and see the logical connections of why it would be easy to get to the place of being physically abusive. Now, some of you watching this might be like, whoa, like this is like way more than what I expected. For a narcissist going through this thought process, and then you have sociopaths, psychopaths, going through this thought process, it ends up going through this process of rewriting the version of reality that I'm experiencing. Like someone is not listening to me. Someone is not respecting me. I need to be able to assert that power and control. Then when I do that, I can't feel bad about that, so I need to explain it away. I need to phrase it in a different way. I need to hide it through the aspect that this person disrespected me. This person hurt me. This person's attacking me. And then it's okay to lash back out. There's so many different pieces that happen to it, but ultimately this aspect of being honest with themselves, honest with what's actually going on. The hard part is the narcissist typically isn't going to be honest. They're not going to acknowledge this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm going through. This is what's coming out. And so it just keeps going through the same rigmarole over and over and over again. At the end of the day, there's people out there that either make a choice to either abuse or not abuse, day in, day out. There's people that struggle with different addictions that choose day in, day out. There's people that struggle with how they want to be able to interact with other people or how they want to be able to come at other people day in, day out. There is a choice. And the thing is, a lot of times a narcissist will put it back on you and tell you that they had no choice. That is a lie. That is a lie that's perpetuated by narcissists, and that's a lie that's perpetuated by a lot of society. I couldn't help it. I just had to. It's just what I needed to do. At the end of the day, a narcissist will try to make you feel like you're the crazy one because you made them do it. Because you looked at another man across the street, which is why they felt like they needed to cheat on you. If you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have cheated on you. Insert any level of different examples, and you can run into the same exact thing. Because you spent so much time with your family, I felt disconnected, and so I cheated on you. Because you didn't do this, I lied to you to protect you. There's so many things that they'll switch around. Narcissists are great at doing one thing, and that's punching you in the face and then getting you to apologize to them for your pain. Narcissist is great at doing one thing, punching you in the face and having you apologize to them for your pain. Do you see that? Do you see that's what's happening in your relationship? Maybe not physically, but mentally, emotionally. And this is something that we see happen to people time and time and time again, where they try to explain it away and try to say, I can't help it. You deserved it. All right, fourth question. Can a person with narcissistic traits learn to manage their behavior and form healthy relationships through therapy or other interventions? This is the tricky one. Because if I say yes, then half of you are going to hold out on your relationship being like, maybe they'll change, and not actually look at the facts of the situation. If I say no, then everybody will be like, see, told you, narcissists can't change. And then we run back into the same thing. End of the day, anybody is incapable of change if they're unwilling to be truthful. if they're unwilling to be honest about the situations, if they're unwilling to be honest with where they are, where they're going, what's actually happening. A narcissist is no different. If a narcissist is unwilling to be honest with themselves, there's no change that can ever happen. No amount of therapy is going to fix that. No amount of interventions or people trying to wake them up will actually change anything if they're not honest with where they are, with who they are. And there's not a consistent way to be able to wake them up or try to get them to a place of moving forward. For me, I joined a group called Wake Up Warrior. It did help wake me up. What I've noticed in counseling, talking to different narcissists and putting them into that program, half of them run into it really fast. Let me do this. And they run through it super quick and nothing changes because they're still not honest with themselves. The other half walk up to it and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm not doing that. That's so stupid. They're all about X, Y, and Z, and they don't do it. Typically because they're too scared because it's an intense program. But it doesn't solve anything. It doesn't fix anything unless they're willing to be honest. So, can a narcissist actually learn to manage their behavior and form a healthy relationship? Yes. To the level that they're willing to be honest with themselves. This is why my relationship has radically transformed over the past couple of years because of my pursuit of learning to be honest to myself. To be honest about the shit that's inside. To be honest and say, hey, I groomed people and I thought that that was love. I twisted that in my mind to make it seem like the best version of reality for me. Now, to be able to say that, to be able to own that, to be able to say like, hey, this is what I did, this is what I thought, that's a completely different narrative than other people that are just like, oh yeah, I'm going to change my behavior, I'm going to try. There's an honesty piece. Honesty is key for any relationship. If you're in a relationship right now with a toxic person and they're not honest, they're not vulnerable, and they're not showing consistent change, you're not in a relationship. You're in a pipe dream. You're in a hopeful wish that something can happen and nothing's going to happen. You need to get free. If you want to work with me one-on-one, you can go to rawmotivations.com. If you're interested in learning more, you can click on the link in the bio, escapetoxicity.com, to learn more about narcissistic abuse. If you're the narcissist, how to work on your reactive abuse, all these different pieces are tied in there so you can start your healing journey and start to progress moving forward into growth.